Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of my career mode series. We're still slogging through preseason trying to move some players out, bring some new players in. One of those players that is out is Danny Graham, who we got £3 million for. That's going to go a long way to getting some new players. But Mario Gomez signs for Chelsea. Oh my god, just give them the title now. They're going to be absolutely unstoppable. But back to our meager transfer dealings. I'm going to use the Danny Graham money to try to up our offer for Joris Okore. Northland just really do not want to let him go, and I don't blame him. I think he's going to become a world-class center back one day. And next up, we had a friendly against Mainz, and I decided to put Jesse Rodriguez up as a lone striker. But can we agree to just call him J-Rod for now on? It's a much better name, and it's much easier to say. And it looks like me calling him J-Rod was the only thing of note that happened in that first half. The second half would bring us a little more action, but really not much more. A chance would come when Mainz would lose it in the midfield and Jose Rodriguez would give it to Ratledge, who would lob the ball over to De Guzman. De Guzman, who is sadly just on loan, would use a fake cross to fire the ball into the bottom corner for a J-Rod-esque golazo. But calling Jesse Rodriguez J-Rod has brought up an interesting dilemma. What do we call Jose Rodriguez? Does he deserve a celebrity name at all? Does he feel left out when all the papers are talking about how J-Rod will light up the Premier League this season? Only time will tell. But in the meantime, Mainz weren't happy with our 1-0 lead. Defending reminiscent of our last game allows Muller to run down our right side and have a weak little toe poke into the bottom corner, and just like that, it was 1-1. And that's how this game would end, 1-1, all square, once again. And with that result, we would go back to the transfer grind to try to finish up some deals for some players that were a little harder to nab than originally expected. One of those players who I'm sure all of you are familiar with by now is Joris Okore. I'm going to try to throw in one of the players that we're really not going to use that much, like Mark Gower, to try to sweeten the deal a little bit. While we're waiting for Northland's answer to our latest offer, we're going to go ahead and sim our next friendly against Ajaxia. I'm going to try and keep simming games to a bare minimum in this series just because I know you guys really want to see gameplay, but sometimes you just have to get through a game. And preseason friendlies really don't matter at all, so simming really isn't a problem for me. And besides, we've already had our other two friendlies to kind of assess what we have in the squad, see who we're going to use, who we're not going to use. And so simming this game really doesn't bother me that much. But you see Jerome Lumu gets his first goal for the team, but also Ashley Williams, our captain, picks up a knock, and they equalize in the 83rd minute, and that's how it's going to end, all square again. But we get an email saying that Ashley Williams is only going to be out for 7 days, which really is a boost for the team because we don't have that much depth at center back, but the other center back we're trying to bring in, who is Joris Okore, once again, his offer is declined. And as much as I want to bring Okore in, I don't want to overpay for him. So we're just going to up the offer just a tiny bit more and see if maybe, just maybe, they'll take it this time. But you saw there that the press was praising Lumu, saying that he had a really good preseason and was pressing his claim for the first team. So maybe Lumu will make an impact a lot sooner than we thought. But then the heavens opened up, and at long last, we finally get our offer for Joris Okore accepted. And we get to go to contract negotiations with our sweet Danish prince. But we also have an offer for Michel Vorm from Newcastle. And I guess since they think that we gave them Danny Graham, we have a good rapport. But I throw them back a counter offer of 13.5 mil, something that I know they probably won't take because we really don't have anybody behind Vorm to take his spot. But with that being said, if they do happen to give me that amount of money, we could buy a younger keeper that will probably become better than Vorm and still have money left over to bring in some other players. But alas, they reject our counter offer, and I really don't feel one way or the other about it, because Vorm's a really great keeper, we could use him around, but if we did get that money, I wouldn't be upset about it either. But even more great news, Joris Okore is on his way to Swansea City. All we have to do is cross the T's and dot the I's, accept the offer, and he's on his way. But also in our inbox is a transfer offer for Ashley Williams, our captain at the time, and also center back. He's a player I wouldn't mind getting rid of just because he's getting on up there in age. He's 27, and he's really not that great at 27 at his peak. So if we could get 6.5, I think is what I put back. If we got that money, we could get someone a lot better and a lot younger. The press have caught wind of our Okore deal, and they call his price tag sizable, but hopefully if he becomes an 85, 86 overall, $3.3 million is going to be a bargain for a player like that. But only time will tell if he does reach that kind of potential. But just as I thought, Bologna are not going to pay that kind of money for Ashley Williams, and like Vorm, he's a player that I wouldn't mind having around, but I also wouldn't mind having the money for him to get someone younger and better. And next up, we have our season opener against QPR. And Michu, trying to explain away his horrible form in preseason, says that he was carrying a knock and really wants a chance to prove his worth in this first game. So I decided against my better judgment to go ahead and start him over Lumu, even though Lumu had a really great preseason, scoring a goal, and just overall looking a lot better than Michu. But nonetheless, our number 9 was the first name on the team sheet, because if a player comes to me and asks to play, more than likely he's gonna play. And we would start this game out really well. Our first chance would come when our opponents would give away the ball in midfield to Nathan Dyer. Dyer would pass the ball centrally to Michu, who would rip with his weaker right foot and just barely miss. But that's good to see from somebody who asks to play, the kind of eagerness to shoot and eagerness to score. But we would have a scare in the 12th minute when Jibril Cisse lobs it over to Jisung Park, who has a header blocked by Vorm, and Joris Okore clears it off the line. But the clearance wouldn't go far enough because Adel Taarabt would give it back to Junior Hoylett, who would have a shot which would be blocked by Vorm and out. The next chance of the game would come when a throw-in would fall to Jesse Rodriguez, who would dribble for a bit before deciding to not be a hero and pass to De Guzman. De Guzman would then pass to Michu, who would dribble into the 18-yard box and unleash a fierce left-footed shot past Julio Cesar for 1-0. At this point, I was kind of giving myself a managerial pat on the back for starting Michu, but we would be absolutely sliced open at the half-hour mark. Mbia would launch it to Cisse, who would head it back to Taarabt, who would give him a nice through ball, and he's through on goal. Luckily for us, he misses. But we didn't learn our lesson the first time, and an almost identical chance would come in the 34th minute. Once again, J-Rod would give it away in our half, and a long ball would be played to Cisse. Cisse heads it back, and then a long ball is played to Junior Hoylett, who dribbles through our defenders like this is Sunday League, and buries a long shot to make it 1-1. But at least we would end the half on a high note. J-Rod knew he had to atone for his mistake that led to the goal, so when he got the ball, he knew what he had to do. Defenders? What defenders? Strokes it in 2-1. Get in there. Little known fact about Jesse Rodriguez? He's half honey badger, so he don't care. And with that goal, the first half was over. But would Swansea finally be able to hold on to a lead? The answer is no. No, they couldn't hold on to a 1-goal lead. But luckily, the force wouldn't be out of balance for much longer, because Nathan Dyer would use his absolutely animal pace to blaze up the right side. When he got to the byline, he didn't know what else to do besides pass it back to a wide-open Jonathan De Guzman, who would just pass it into the goal. A reporter asked De Guzman after the game why he fell over. His answer? That goal was just too sweaty. After the third goal, I thought our lead was safe, and so I went into our substitution screen to bring on the lesser Rodriguez to try to give him some experience on the field and also to see what he would do against upper-level opposition. But of course, my assumption about our lead holding would ultimately prove to be wrong. After an absolutely horrendous goal kick, the ball would fall to Cisse, who was right in the middle of our wide-open defense, and he just buries that in the bottom corner to make it 3-3. And that's how it would end. Yet another draw. But there were positives in the midst of our draw purgatory. Both Michu and Lucas Silva played really well, but Michel Vorm is asking to leave. Maybe he was just really ashamed of that goal kick. And with that bombshell, that's where this episode is going to end. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.